Today, I want to talk about faith, and I want to share from Psalms 18, verse 29. And it says this, it says, "For by you I can run against a troop, and by my God I can leap over a wall." And this is an amazing verse, and I'm going to read it again to you. And it says, "For by you I can run against a troop, and by my God I can leap over a wall." You see, this is David speaking, and he says that he can run up against a troop. He can run up against an entire troop of enemies, and he can leap over walls. It's almost like he's Superman. And he can do all these things that a normal person cannot do. But the key is this. He says, "For by you." It's not in his own strength. It's not in his own power. He's saying, by you, by my God, I can overcome all my limitations. I can do what I could not do before. What he's saying is, I cannot in my own strength, in my own ability. I cannot, but by you, I can. Okay, what does this mean? Does this mean I just lie down and just wait for God to do his thing? No, he says that for by you, but for by my God, I can. And I want you to see that. I want you to say that to yourself right now. I can. You see, he says it twice. It says, "For by you, for by God, I can run up against a troop. I can leap over a wall." So many times in our life, we say, "I can't do this. I'm too busy. I've got so much things to do. I've got so much work. I don't know how to. I can't. But faith in God allows us to say, "I can." Faith activates a spiritual power inside our lives, in my life, to be able to overcome and do things that I could not do before. See, there are 4 things that David had that allows him to live by faith. And the first one is this: he had conviction of his identity. He was sure of who he was. And what this means is that he knows who he is and he knows who God is. And this is very important, because this is what identity is. I know who God is and I know who I am. So if you have all these limitations in your life and you say, "I can't do this, I can't do this, I don't know how to, and I feel helpless and I feel weak," well, it's probably going to come down to this. You really don't know who you are, or you don't know who God is. We have a wrong understanding of my own identity, or have the wrong understanding of who God is. You see, David had spiritual power. He had faith because he knew who God was, and he knew exactly who he was. And he was able to say, "For by you, because of God, I can." Amen. And the second thing was this: David was able to overcome himself. He had victory over himself. And in fact, in Proverbs 25, verse 28, it says, "A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls." Wow, what a powerful verse. You see, if you're not in control of your own life, if you have not overcome your own limitations, you haven't overcome your emotions, you get triggered by anger, you're always sad and emotional, you have no control over your own life, then you haven't overcome these issues in your own life, then you're like a city with broken walls. And that means you're open to attack. Every time there's temptation, every time something happens, you break down and you say, I can't. You run away, you hide, you withdraw, and you go into your cave. You see, David was able to overcome himself. He overcame the struggles and trials that he had in his life. He was victorious over himself, and so he was victorious in his own life. Amen. And the third thing that David had was that he had a very clear purpose. He knew what he wanted in life, and it was to glorify God. Everything that David did was for the glory of God. To build his house, to build his kingdom, to do what God had called him to do. And because of that, no matter what happened, he knew that God was faithful to keep his promises. And so he held on to that, and he lived to glorify him. He lived so that God could be lifted up through his life. And so when you read Psalms, it says all these things like, where does my help come from? Where do I turn my eyes to? And it's always to God. He had a very clear purpose in life, and it was to glorify God. All right, number 4, he trusted in God. It means he leaned on him. It means every time he was in a hard place, he felt pressure in life and stress of life overwhelm him. He didn't look inwards, but he looked upwards. He trusted in God, and God was his strength. God was his deliverer. God was his rock and his fortress, his foundation. He says he is my shield. Right? These languages are the languages that David uses in Psalms. He trusted in God. You see, he knew his identity. He knew that he had to overcome himself, and he did. He had victory in his own life. He had a very clear purpose to glorify God, and he trusted in God. And that's how David was able to say, "For by you I can run against a troop, and by my God I can leap over walls." I want you to listen to today's message and claim victory in your own life. Get the breakthrough spirit that David had, and that he was able to overcome his enemies with. He was able to overcome giants like Goliath in his life. David was a warrior and he was a worshipper. He was able to overcome. He was able to have victory, spirituality, and in the tangible circumstances around him, he was able to overcome. So I declare that you and I will become like David. They will be able to say, "For by you, God, I can. There's nothing that I cannot do." And you can overcome all your limitations that you have in your life. I declare this message will give you grace to overcome yourself and overcome your circumstances. God bless you.